The night she stood on stage, bathed in golden lights, thousands screaming her name, I stood in the shadows forgotten. No one knew the man who'd built her, sculpted her career from dust. No one knew the price I paid to turn her into a goddess adored by millions. Not even her. Especially not her. She didn't even look my way when she passed backstage, her diamond-studded gown brushing against my sleeve, as if I were part of the decor. And when I heard her soft voice make sure he's escorted out quietly, he's embarrassing. That was when something inside me finally shattered. I didn't fight back. I walked away, each step heavier than the last, my heart dragging like a corpse behind me. 10 years I had given her. 10 years of sleepless nights, unpaid bills, broken promises to my dying mother just to see her rise. And in the end, she discarded me like I was never there. That same night, drunk and broken, I sat at the edge of a bridge with only the moon and cold wind as company. I whispered her name for the last time and jumped. But instead of darkness, I woke up in light. 10 years earlier, the ceiling fan creaked above me in my old apartment, the one I hadn't seen in a decade. My old phone, cracked and half-functional, buzzed on the table. The date glowed on the screen. May 17th. The day I met her. My breath caught in my throat. My hands trembled. Was this real? A hallucination? Some cruel illusion before death truly claimed me? I ran outside. The street was just as I remembered. Dusty, loud, alive with the energy of a world still unruined by my mistakes. My reflection in a shop window confirmed it. I was young again. Tired eyes, but no crow's feet. No gray. No bitterness. I had been given another chance, but not to make her a star again. No. This time, I would walk away before she could use me. This time, I would choose differently, and that's when I saw her. Sitting quietly in the corner of a bookstore cafe, glasses slightly askew, a cup of untouched coffee cooling beside her, flicking through a poetry book with the kind of care you give to something sacred. She wasn't flashy. She wasn't chasing cameras or fame. She didn't even notice me. But something in her stillness pulled me in. As I stood there, caught in a moment that felt outside of time, a strange calm settled over me. This unknown, quiet girl felt like the exact opposite of the storm I just escaped. I didn't know her name. But I knew one thing for sure this time. I would choose her. And that single choice would change everything. My name is Aarav and Meher. 35 years old when I died. 25 when I opened my eyes again. Back then, I was the definition of hungry ambitious, sharp-tongued, willing to bleed for success. I wore cheap suits with borrowed confidence and believed I could shape the world with nothing but a dream and a deadline. Raised by a single mother who sold saris door to door, I learned early that no one gives you anything, you take it. And I did. Especially when I met her.
This audio was created with Podcastle.ai.
And I did. Especially when I met her. Anaya Kapoor. Back then she was a struggling theater actress with a face the world couldn't ignore. Hazel eyes that could cry on command. A voice that wrapped around your soul like silk, and charm that could turn enemies into sponsors. She was magnetic, and she knew it. I made her famous. She made me invisible. Now, sitting in this dusty apartment with peeling wallpaper and an old fan spinning overhead, I'm not the same man. The fire is still there, but it's no longer desperate. It's controlled. I've seen what blind ambition can cost. I've lived the pain of building someone else's empire while burning my own down to ash. And that's why this time, when I saw her, the quiet girl in the bookstore cafe, something shifted in me. Her name was Meher Shaheri. She couldn't have been more different from Anaya. Where Anaya entered a room like a spark looking for gasoline, Meher sat quietly in the corner, tucked into herself like a secret. Long black hair tied in a low ponytail, soft cotton kurta with ink stains on her sleeves, and a canvas bag weighed down by more books than her frame should carry. She looked safe. Not in a dull way. In a peaceful way. Like she'd never step over a dying man to reach the top. Like she valued depth over drama. I didn't speak to her that day. I just watched, took note of the small things. She used a napkin to clean the dust off the book's cover before reading it. She smiled just barely at a child tugging at her dupatta. She didn't check her phone once in an hour. She was present. And for a man who had spent a decade around people who only pretended to be, that felt revolutionary. In my past life, my world was filled with people like Anaya, managers who only called when they wanted something, agents who smiled with knives behind their backs, friends who disappeared when the spotlight shifted. Fame doesn't just change people, it reveals them. But Meher? She didn't want to be seen. Which made me want to know her even more. I started visiting the cafe more often. Sat in the corner with a book I barely read, sneaking glances when she wasn't looking. Overheard her conversations with the elderly bookstore owner, Mr. Batra, retired professor who treated her like the daughter he never had. I learned that Meher worked part-time as a translator and wrote poetry no one had read. She lived with her grandmother in a modest flat. Her father had passed away years ago, and her mother had left when she was a child. But there was no bitterness in her voice when she spoke of only acceptance. She had known loss, but hadn't let it define her. Unlike me. Because, here's the truth, I didn't just fall for Anaya. I worshipped her. Believed she was my purpose, my legacy, my one chance to escape mediocrity. I sacrificed everything for her. Even myself. And in the end, she didn't even offer a goodbye. Now, every instinct I have is telling me to run in the opposite direction. To stay away from anyone who might need saving. But with Meher, it's different. She doesn't need rescuing. She needs someone who sees her. Listens. Waits. And maybe so do I. My core values have changed. I used to believe success was everything. That the world remembered only the loud, the brilliant, the beautiful. But now I believe in quiet strength. In people who stay behind after the crowd leaves. In honesty, Bet isn't dressed up for social media. In the kind of love that doesn't make headlines but builds homes. I still have ambition. But it's no longer aimed at someone else's spotlight. This time, I want to build something real with someone real. Still, there's fear. What if I mess this up again? What if I get too close and history finds a way to repeat itself? What if fate doesn't let me change the story? Because even though Anaya hasn't entered this version of my life yet, she exists. And when she appears like she always does, will I have the strength to walk away this time? For now, I sit in that cafe, waiting for the right moment to say hello. Not to impress. Not to promise stars. Just to begin again. With Meher.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
Just to begin again. With Meher. It began with a message. Just 5 words. Let's talk. I remember you, Anaya. I stared at the screen for what felt like forever. The number was unfamiliar, but the tone was unmistakable. Confident. Casual. Calculated. My breath hitched. My stomach clenched. She wasn't supposed to be here. Not yet. In my last life, I hadn't met her until 2 months after May 17th. But here she was weeks early. As if fate had sensed my shift in direction and sent her faster, stronger, sharper. I didn't respond. Instead, I focused on Meher. By now, we'd exchanged names. Shared coffee. Laughed over forgotten poems and dog-eared books. Her voice had become something I look forward to every morning. Calm. Curious. Sincere. She didn't know who I used to be or who I could become again. And I liked that. For the first time, I wasn't a stepping stone. I wasn't a fixer. I was just me. But the peace didn't last long. The next day, Mr. Batra called out to me as I entered the bookstore cafe. Beta, you have a visitor. I turned and there she was. Anaya Kapoor. Younger, of course. The world hadn't discovered her yet. but she looked almost identical to how I remembered her flawless skin, perfect posture, confidence woven into every step. She walked up, lips curling into that same disarming smile. "Aarav," she said, as if tasting the name. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I wanted to scream. Run. Push her away before she could infect this life too. But instead, I stood frozen torn between old scars and new beginnings. Meher stepped out from the cafe just then, holding 2 cups of tea. She paused when she saw us, her smile fading ever so slightly. Anaya noticed. "Oh," she said lightly. "Am I interrupting something?" I forced a smile. "No, just catching up." She reached out, brushing invisible lint off my shirt. "Let's do more than catch up. I want to work with you." Just like that. No apology for the way she discarded me in another timeline. No explanation for how she even remembered me now. Just a proposal. History knocking again. I didn't answer. I took the tea from Meher, muttered a quick goodbye, and left Anaya standing in the sun, confused but still sure she'd win. That night, Meher asked quietly, "Who was she?" And I lied. "Just someone from college. Drama club days." It tasted wrong. But how could I tell her the truth? That this girl once became the center of my universe and then shattered it? That I had literally died because of her? I wanted to protect Meher from that world. From the shadows that still clung to me. But lies, no matter how small, always come back for their due. A few days later, Meher grew quieter. She stopped finishing her sentences, looked over her shoulder more often.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
One evening, I found her sitting alone at the cafe, a torn magazine in her hands. An article titled, "Anaya Kapoor, The Face to Watch." There was a blurry photo of me in the background, standing beside her. "I didn't know you worked with her," Meher said, voice calm but cold. "I didn't," I replied instinctively. Then, catching myself, added, "Not now, not anymore." "Then why didn't you say so?" And there it was, the first crack. She wasn't angry, not loudly. But the hurt was clear. The trust was shaken. I tried to explain. About mistakes. About wanting a fresh start. She listened. But her silence afterward said more than her words ever could. Later that night, I received another message. "She's not right for you, Aarav. She never was. Let's fix that this time." Anaya, fix what? What did she know? That message proved something terrifying. Anaya remembered the past too. Maybe not all of it, but enough. Suddenly, this wasn't just a second chance for me. It was a game between 2 people who'd both been reborn with different agendas. I wasn't just choosing between the past and present. I was choosing between who I used to be and who I wanted to become. I couldn't sleep. Every night blurred into the next, thoughts crashing into each other like thunder in my skull. I would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering, what does Anaya remember? Why now? Why me again? And, worse what if she wants to rewrite history on her own terms this time? Meher noticed my distance. She didn't say much, but her silence turned sharp, like she was waiting for me to confess something she hadn't asked yet. The more I tried to protect her, the more I felt I was lying to her. I hated it. She had become my solace, my second chance at a quiet life. Her presence was like a melody that healed parts of me I didn't know were broken. But Anaya? He was a storm. Beautiful, yes, but relentless and dangerously unforgettable. A week after that cryptic message, I met Anaya again. She had a way of appearing where she wasn't supposed to be, outside the bookstore, at a cafe I mentioned once, even once outside Meher's apartment, pretending it was a coincidence. This time, she invited me to her flat. I shouldn't have gone, but curiosity, like a match to dry leaves, lit too fast. Her place was eerily familiar. The layout, the scent of vanilla. Even the playlist she had running quietly in the background was from our old timeline. Songs we listened to late into the night, once upon a heartbreak. She handed me a drink. I didn't touch it. You're scared of me, she said softly, settling across from me. I'm not, I replied. But my fingers twitched on my knee. She leaned forward, voice silk and steel. Do you think I don't remember how it ended? Do you think I don't know you left me to die alone in fame? I froze. My heart skipped. She did remember. But we can fix it, she continued.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
She did remember. But we can fix it, she continued, eyes burning with an unnatural calm. We can rewrite everything. Better this time, smarter, together. I stood up. I'm not the same man, Anaya. You say that, she said, almost pitying, but you came here. That part of you still exists. The part that misses the power, the thrill, the spotlight. She wasn't wrong. A part of me did ache to be known again, to build something grand, to feel irreplaceable. But not like that. Not at the cost of my soul. As I walked out, her final words followed me like a shadow. You can't protect her forever, Aarav. Not from me. Not from what's coming. The next day, Meher found an envelope on her doorstep. Inside an anonymous photo of me and Anaya, cropped tightly, with the words written in neat, cold ink. He's done it before. He'll do it again. She didn't show it to me until that evening. When she did, her hands trembled. Her voice barely rose above a whisper. Who is she really, Aarav? And who were you before you met me? I wanted to tell her everything. About the first life. About the fame. About the collapse. But how do you explain rebirth to someone who believes in simplicity? So I told her what I could. I was someone else, I admitted. And I loved someone I shouldn't have. She destroyed me. But I'm not that man anymore. She looked at me like she was trying to see both truths at once. I want to believe you, she whispered. But believing is hard when the past won't stay in the past. I reached for her hand. She let me, but didn't hold on. That night, she didn't return my calls. And I found myself standing between two roads. One led back to a version of me that was confident, loud, and worshipped. The other led to a quiet life for someone who never asked for anything but truth. But Anaya was pushing closer, now trying to tilt the scales. She knew the right memories to trigger, the right regrets to weaponize. And Meher? She was slipping through my fingers, one heartbeat at a time. 3 days after Meher stopped returning my messages, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't pick up, but something made me press accept. The voice on the other end was quiet, breathless, frightened. It was Meher. Aarav, I didn't know where else to go. I saw something. I think someone's watching me. My heart dropped. Where are you? She gave me the address of a small motel on the outskirts of the city. She sounded shaken, like her world had shifted and she didn't know which way was up. I got there in 20 minutes. When I opened the door to her room, she didn't throw herself into my arms. She didn't cry. She just handed me a file. I went to the press archives, she whispered. I needed to know who Anaya Sharma was. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside were photos, articles, screenshots of online posts from years ago, ones I thought were buried and erased. Headlines screamed, Anaya Sharma hospitalized for exhaustion after public breakdown. Mysterious disappearance of starlet linked to alleged breakup with secret partner. Industry insider blames ex-TOF. Fiancé for actress's sudden collapse. And in the last page, a grainy, poorly lit image of the hospital ward where she had once been kept under psychiatric observation. In the corner of the photo, barely visible but unmistakably, me. I thought it was just gossip, Meher whispered. But your face, you were there. You were with her during her collapse. You were the secret. I felt like I couldn't breathe. It wasn't just that Meher had uncovered the past. It was that she now knew how deep in it I'd been. I'd always told myself I wasn't responsible for Anaya's breakdown. That the fame, the pressure, the spotlight, that those had broken her. But the truth was I had pulled the strings. I had turned her into a star, pushed her to her limits, celebrated her climb. and abandon her when she began to slip. I should have told you, I said, voice raw. She looked at me, hurt in her eyes, but no hatred. I don't care that you had a past, Aarav. I care that you hid it, that you let me fall for a man who's still running from his own ghosts. Before I could speak again, there was a loud...
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
Man who's still running from his own ghosts. Before I could speak again, there was a loud knock at the door. Meher tensed. I moved toward the peephole. No one. Then a text. From an unknown number. If she keeps digging, you'll lose her again, just like before. It was Anaya. She was still watching, still playing. And this wasn't just obsession anymore, this was control. I turned to Meher. Pack your things. We're leaving. You're not safe here. She didn't argue. As we drove through the night, Meher finally broke the silence. She still loves you, doesn't she? No, I said, but even I didn't believe it. She loves the version of me she created, I corrected. Not the man I am now. Then why is she doing this? I paused. And then the truth hit me hard and cold. She's not trying to win me back, I said slowly. She's trying to ruin me, because if I won't belong to her, then I won't belong to anyone. In that moment, I knew this wasn't just about love, or regret, or lost fame. It was revenge. Calculated, slow-burning, and dangerously personal. And Meher Quietkind Meher had become collateral damage in a war she never signed up for. That night, as we hid in a small guest house far from the city, I watched her sleep on the edge of the bed, curled away from me. The distance between us had grown. Not physically, emotionally. She trusted me once. Now she watched me like I was a ticking bomb. And maybe I was, because the past wasn't done with me yet. And Anaya? She hadn't even played her final card. The storm outside mirrored the one inside me. Meher stood near the window of the cabin, arms wrapped tightly around herself. She hadn't said a word since I told her the whole truth about Anaya, about the manipulation, about how I'd once stood by and watched a woman collapse under the weight of the image I built for her. And now, that same woman had returned to burn everything I had left. My phone vibrated on the wooden table. Unknown number again. Final offer. Come see me, alone. Or the world hears everything. Your secrets, her pictures, your past. Attached was a photo. Mehoutside the motel, unaware of the camera. It was a warning. Meher turned slowly, eyes heavy with unshed tears. You said you buried this. That she was gone. I thought she was. I wanted her to be. But she isn't, she whispered, her voice cracking. She's still here, controlling you, controlling us. I crossed the room and tried to take her hand. I'll fix this. I swear. No. She stepped back. You don't fix this with promises, Aarav. You fix this by choosing. Right now. Her or me. Those words shattered something inside me. I had faced so many decisions in my life. Choosing Anaya. Choosing ambition. Choosing silence. Now, I had to choose courage. Without another word, I grabbed my keys and walked out. I didn't tell Meher where I was going. I just knew it had to end one way or another.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
I found Anaya in a dimly lit rooftop bar, the same place where she'd once celebrated her first film signing. She sat alone, dressed in black, sipping red wine like it was blood. You came, she said without looking at me. I didn't come back, I said. Just came to end this. She smiled, slow and poisonous. Is that what you think this is? An ending? I sat across from her. You're threatening Meher, watching her, using our past like a weapon. I'm using your guilt, she said sharply. You owe me, Aarav. You destroyed me. No, Anaya. You destroyed yourself. I helped, yes. I pushed you too far, but you chose the spotlight over everything, even your sanity. Her eyes flared. I became what you wanted. You made me feel like I was only worthy when I was perfect. I was wrong, I said. I know that now. Her laughter was bitter. And what? You think your confession makes it better? That you can run away with some small-town girl and pretend you're new again? She's not an escape, I said. She's the truth I should have looked for back then. She stood slowly, hands clenched at her sides. I should ruin you. You already have. That stunned her. I continued. You ruined me the day I realized I let someone fall and called it love. Silence fell like thunder. I won't let you hurt Meher, I said. If you release those pictures, the stories, whatever dirt you have on me, I won't stop you. But leave her out of it. And if I don't, then you'll prove to the world that you're exactly what they said you were, a bitter star fading into darkness. Coup. She trembled. That hit her. Because for all her venom, Anaya still craved love, attention, validation, and being seen as nothing more than a villain? That scared her more than obscurity. You'd really give everything up for her? She asked, almost softly now. Yes, I said without hesitation. Because for the first time, I finally loved someone the way I should have loved you. With honesty, with space, without control. Anaya closed her eyes. And for a second he saw the girl she used to be. Insecure. Fragile. Lonely. Not a monster. Just broken. I won't come near her again, she whispered. But I won't disappear either. I have a right to exist, Aarav. You do, I said gently. But your existence doesn't have to destroy others. She nodded, slowly. And then she walked out of my life. Again. But this time I didn't chase her. I drove back before dawn. The cabin was quiet, the lights off. I opened the door slowly. Meher was sitting at the kitchen table, awake, eyes red. I thought you left for good, she said. I thought I might too, I replied honestly. But then I realized something. She waited. That leaving you would have meant repeating the same mistake. Running from love when it scared me, when it got messy. But I'm done running. Her breath hitched. So what now? I stepped closer, heart in my throat. I told her everything. And I told her I wasn't going back. I chose you. Tears slipped down her cheeks. I'm scared, she whispered. I don't know if I can trust you again. You don't have to trust me today, I said. Just let me earn it. One truth at a time. She hesitated. Then she nodded. That night, we didn't kiss. We didn't pretend it was all okay. We just sat there, in the quiet, fingers barely touching across the table. But for the first time in years, I felt peace. Not because the past had disappeared, but because I'd finally stopped letting it define me. 6 months later, the world was quieter. No press lurking in corners. No viral videos. No backroom deals. Just the sound of Meher's laughter drifting from the flower garden she insisted we build ourselves. I never knew planting seeds could feel so much like healing. She knelt in the dirt, sleeves rolled, hair tied up in a loose bun. Dirt smudged her cheek. She was wearing my hoodie. I didn't dare tell her how that sight undid me every time. Are you gonna help or just stare like a creep? She teased without looking up. I grinned. Can't I do both? She threw a handful of soil at me. And just like that, laughter replaced silence. That had become our way.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
Laughter replaced silence. That had become our way. There were still days when the past knocked on the door. When she'd pull away if I got too close too fast. When my mind replayed the worst of Anaya's words, reminding me what I had been capable of once. But we didn't pretend anymore. We talked. We paused. We learned how to speak the same language, even when it meant saying nothing at all. After Anaya disappeared from the headlines, I found an old video on my phone, her first audition. She was shaking, stuttering through her lines, eyes darting nervously. I remembered how I'd cut the video short back then, dismissing her as too raw. But rewatching it now, I saw something else. Vulnerability. Hope. A girl begging for space to grow. And I hadn't given it to her. I deleted the video. Not out of anger, but forgiveness. For her. For me. Meher got a small theater role downtown. Not glamorous. Not flashy. But she came home glowing every night. She never let me call in favors. Never asked me to make calls or leverage contacts. She wanted to earn her light. I don't want to shine because I'm next to someone, she once told me, sitting cross-legged on her bed. I want to shine because I found my own fire. And she was doing exactly that, step by quiet step. One evening while she was reading scripts in the living room, I opened a blank document on my laptop. I hadn't written in years. Not since the PR campaigns and speeches and hollow words that made actors cry on cue. But this time, the words came freely. A script. A simple story. About a girl who never wanted fame. And a boy who lost himself chasing it. And how they both found each other when the lights had all gone out. Is this us? Meher asked when she found it one night. Maybe, I said, not looking up. Or maybe it's who we could have been. If we'd met in another life. She touched the screen gently. You wrote me brave. You are brave, I whispered. She kissed my forehead, then rested her head against mine. I didn't submit the script to studios. Didn't pitch it to anyone. I printed one copy and left it on our bookshelf next to her favorite poetry. Because not every story was meant to be sold. Some were just meant to be kept. Winter came. Our first one together. The night before her small play's opening, I found her crying softly on the porch. I sat beside her. Cold feet? She nodded. What if I mess up? I smiled. Then, you'll mess up. And the world won't end. She leaned against my shoulder. Promise? I promise. Then I added, but you will mess up. You've already survived things far scarier than a spotlight. She turned. Eyes glistening. Like loving someone broken? I swallowed. Like loving someone healing. Opening night came. She walked on stage in front of 27 people. Her voice cracked on the first line. But she kept going. And by the end, they stood for her. All 27. I stood too. Heart full. Hands trembling. Because I knew she wasn't just performing. She was claiming her own story. And I, for once, was just a witness. Not a writer. Not a fixer. Just a man learning how to love someone without trying to control them. After the show, we walked home under falling snow. She wrapped her arm in mine. I don't need a big crowd. I know, I said. But one day, they'll find you anyway. She shrugged. Let them. This time, I'll know how to hold myself. We reached our gate. She paused. I love you, Aarav. I froze. Not because I didn't feel it, but because hearing it now without fear, without pressure meant everything. I love you too, Meher. Simple words. No grand gestures. Just truth. That's what we'd been building. Sometimes I wondered if fate had given me a second chance to fix my past. But I think it gave me Meher instead. And she fixed me. Not by erasing who I was, but by teaching me how to be better, how to be present. Years from now, someone might ask her how she started. And maybe she'll say it was a dusty little stage and 27 people. Maybe she'll talk about the girl she used to be, quiet, unknown. But I hope she'll also say, I was loved, not as a star, not as a fantasy, just as myself. And I'll be there, clapping in the back row. Still her biggest fan. Still the man who chose the quiet girl and found the loudest truth in her love.
This audio was created with Podcastle.ai